A while back, I called an old friend in his early 30s. He had been a young adult leader in a youth group at another parish, and I was part of leading that youth group. And I called him and I asked him for advice. I said to him, I'm starting to love the youth at St. Anthony's the way I loved all of you, but I feel I don't know how to love them well. So he gave me some advice, and two pieces of his advice really stuck to me. First, he said, Father Justin, we always loved your high standards. That's what drew a lot of us to learn from you. But second, Father Justin, you have to give gentle guidance. And he told me that because I know and he knows that one of my predominant sins is impatience. I bring up this story because the first reading is about a watchman who sees impending danger, who tells the people of their sins. And St. Gregory the Great, one of the best pastors ever, when he comments on this first reading about the watchman, the first thing he does is he denounces himself because he doesn't practice what he preaches. But he says, because I love Jesus, I do not spare myself in speaking of him. So he's saying, yeah, he doesn't practice what he preaches, but because he loves Jesus, he's still going to tell the people the truth. He's still going to tell the people their sins. So I want to today, and as best I can, always imitate St. Gregory. I'm going to start by admitting I am very impatient, but at the same time, I still love Jesus, and I'm still going to try to tell all of you your sins today. I'm going to do it clearly, but gently. One thing that's really impressed me about all of you, our whole parish family, is that we like to hear hard truths. We've done enough preparation for this, so I'm not even going to give a preamble about this anymore. You're already ready. So let's jump in. God says to the prophet Ezekiel today in the first reading, so you, O Son of Man, I have made a watchman for the house of Israel. Okay, so the watchman at that time would be on a higher position, and he would see the enemy coming, and he could sound the trumpet. Whenever you hear a word from my mouth, you shall give them warning from me. This is a very short reading today, only 3 verses, but 3 times it mentions the word warning. Okay, so we're going to talk later on about 3 warnings. If I say to the wicked, O wicked one, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked to turn from their ways, the wicked person shall die in their iniquity, but their blood I will require at your hand. So we're talking today about matters of life and death, spiritual life and death. So what we talk about will affect whether we turn away from Jesus and choose hell. But if you warn the wicked person to turn from their ways, and they do not turn from their ways, they shall die in their iniquity, but you will have saved your life. Okay, so Ezekiel at this point, this is around the year 587 BC. What had just happened then is that the Babylonian Empire invaded Jerusalem, destroyed the city, took the majority of the Jewish people back to Babylon as prisoners, and it's now a time of upheaval. And Ezekiel, he has to tell the people their sins. So it's also a time of upheaval for all of us. And I'm going to, right now, because we heard the word warning 3 times, I want to mention 3 significant problems or sins in our parish family. Number 1, now that I've been with you for over 6 years as your pastor, spiritual father, I feel I can say the following with accuracy. As parents, we are not doing enough for our children to help them make Jesus the center of their lives. Every year, we have a lot of our children go through our Catholic school and through our Tuesday night religious education program called PrEP. And every year, most of them will not make Jesus the center of their life. Now, when I say center of their life, I mean being his disciple, following him, the most important person in their life around whom they make all their decisions, and the person who influences their world view. Last week, Dana, if you remember, the young lady who gave her testimony, she really hit the nail on the head with regards to her teenage faith experience. So she admitted that in high school, she had to put on a front to cover her faith. And when she got bored at Mass, she just leave Mass. She saw God as a toy on the shelf. Dana graduated from our elementary school 10 years ago, and in her class, only 4 of them are still practicing their faith. They're all 22. Now that's a good year. Okay, that's a strong year. Most of our classes are much lower, 1, 2 people. Now here's the deal. Parents, you're doing many things well, really. And you try hard. We talk a lot. But I have to tell you, what you're doing is not enough in terms of faith. From my perspective as the pastor, I see a very broad range. I can also see further in terms of faith. And this is what I see. Parents who have very young children, let's say toddlers, they're actually parenting the exact same way as our parents are who have kids in elementary school. And our parents right now who have kids in elementary school, they're parenting the way our parents do who have kids in high school. And same with Dana's parents. They're parenting exactly the way Dana's parents parented before their conversion. And it's not enough. So, parents, I love you, and I'm trying to step up my spiritual game. I really am trying to be more patient. And I'm telling you, what you have to do is, you, as parents, you have to look ahead to the parents who are older than you, who have children who are older than your children, and you have to parent better than they are. I mentioned this to 2 mothers some weeks ago, and one mother said to me, "Oh, so there's no hope." I thought, no, what do you mean? Of course there's hope. There's always hope. And so I said, well, let's try this. Very simple suggestion, but very important. I said, "Ma'am, do you love Jesus more than your children?" That's the way. Because, see, Jesus commands this, and we've talked about this one many times. If you love Jesus more than your own children, your kids will see this. Not only will you love your children more than you already do, because if we love Jesus more, by definition, we will love the people around us more than we already do right now. But our children will see this, and they'll see Jesus as truly the center of your life, and they'll be more likely to make him the center of their lives. Number 2, I think as a community, we are weak in terms of our moral commitments. I'll give you 3 examples. First is our commitment to Mass. For those of us who are in the Archdiocese of Vancouver, it's no longer a mortal sin to miss Sunday Mass because through our own fault, because Archbishop Miller has dispensed us from the Sunday obligation. So, let's say we've signed up for Mass, and you're already in one of the groups here, you've got a seat at Sunday Mass, and then you choose, for a poor reason, to miss Sunday Mass. Let's say here we are at the 10 a.m. Mass here in Vancouver, and you feel you need to sleep in. That's no longer a mortal sin against the 3rd commandment. But what is it? It's a sin of a lack of love. Because what we're saying is, my sleep is more important than Jesus' sacrifice. What he did dying on the cross, my sleep's more important. That Jesus' supper, the Eucharist, is not as important to me. We're not grateful. That's a sin of a lack of love. If we have a spot at Sunday Mass and choose, for a poor reason, not to come to Sunday Mass, that is a sign of bad moral commitment. And think also, please, about the other people who want to come to Sunday Mass. They're on our waiting list right now, and they can't come yet. We're trying to get them in. What about the commitment to never lie? Never tell a lie. One time I was visiting our school, and we're talking about the commandments. So I was in grade 5. Most of the kids there are around 10 years old. We go through the commandments. They all know the commandments. What's the 5th commandment? Thou shalt not kill. Good. Kids, would any of you ever break the 5th commandment? No, Father Justin, no. Good. Now, where did they learn that moral commitment from? They'll never kill an innocent person. They learned it from us, the community. Because none of us, we already implicitly know we'll never kill. We've made a more implicit moral commitment. Keep on going through the commandments. 8th commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness. Kids, have you made a commitment never to lie? Silence. Because they lie. Where did they learn that from? Us. Parents, do your kids lie to you? I'm sorry to say they've probably learned that from you. Because if you have not made a firm moral commitment to never lie, then your kids won't either. I'll be honest, I sometimes lie. It's rare. And if I told you otherwise, I'd be lying. But it happens, and I'm embarrassed. It's pathetic. A priest lying? I've made a moral commitment. I have. I failed at it. But it's better to aim high and fail than aim low and just accept mediocrity. What about the commitment to prayer? For 6 years, we've talked about the importance of a commitment to daily prayer. And if you've been here for 6 years and you don't have an absolute commitment to daily prayer, then you have a big spiritual problem. No one can grow spiritually if they're malnourished. I remember once watching this YouTube video, this exercise guru, and he is saying, if you work out super hard, but you don't know what you're eating, you're still a beginner. And he said that a lot of you guys work out really hard, but you eat whatever you want. You don't know what you're putting in your body. That means you're still a beginner. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's me. I work out really hard. I love those crazy workouts, but I just eat whatever I want. I'm still a beginner. But I changed that because that was a great wake-up call. And the same thing applies to our spiritual life. If you're not committed to at least 15 minutes of daily prayer every day, you're not even a beginner. Beginners in the spiritual life are committed to 15 minutes of daily prayer. Now, what if you're exhausted? Then you pray standing up. What if you have no time? Then you have to cut something else out of your schedule. You should know that God hears the prayers of parents for their children. He will hear your prayers. But we're not talking about prayers that are just tacked on at the end of the day, where we just kind of fit them in and they're kind of cursory. We're talking about prayer of the heart, a 15-minute prayer where we pour out our heart to Jesus and we read the Bible and we listen to him speaking back to us. And then we talk, Lord, I love my kids so much. Please help them. But also, Lord, can you please help me love them more? That's the quality of prayer we're talking about. Number 3, from what I observe, I think many of you still have moral worldviews based more on the opinion of the world than on the Bible and church teaching. For example, on abortion, most of us are against abortion, but we're soft on it, and we make illogical exceptions. We say things like, well, I would never have an abortion, but I'm not going to force my opinion on other people. But that doesn't work for other serious moral issues. We don't say, well, I'm against slavery, but I wouldn't force that on other people. Because if you were to say that, it actually means you're not pro-life, you're pro-choice, because you're conceding that there are certain cases when you think abortion is acceptable. We've given lots of homilies on abortion over the years, lots. We've gone through all the reasons. But many of us still think like most Canadians, because it's really hard for us to go against popular opinion. As of this homily, there have been, in the world, 28 million abortions, okay? So we're in September, and 28 million abortions worldwide. Now, comparatively, in the world, there have been so far 826,000 deaths due to COVID-19. Death by communicable disease, 8.8 million. Death by HIV and AIDS, 1.1 million. Death by cancer, 5.5 million. Death by smoking and alcohol, 5 million. So, compared to all of these other big problems, abortion is by far the greatest killer. In order to do the greatest good, shouldn't we try to eliminate the number one cause of death? But most people don't think that way. We are told by the world that we need abortion because there are so-called hard cases, typically 3, rape, incest, and to save the life of a mother. But the majority of abortions don't happen for those reasons. One pro-abortion doctor admits, she says, most women of every race, age, income level, parity, and education who choose an abortion cite reasons having to do with concerns about responsibility to children, as well as concern about the children they may have in the future. They base their decision mainly on their ability to remain financially stable. So the hard cases doesn't actually add up. Most of us have been taught to make moral decisions based on feelings rather than on facts. So, for example, most of us have people in our lives who lie to us. We notice it. We know they lie to us. Why do they do that? Because they've been trained, the way probably all of us have been, to make decisions based on our feelings. And lying is always a result of feeling-based morality, because when we're in a bind and we don't want to get in trouble, we don't want a problem, lying is a quick way out. It feels okay at the moment. But the fact is, it will disintegrate our relationships. More lies, more problems in relationships. In the same way, whenever there are so-called hard cases and abortion seems like an option, the feeling makes us think, well, that's probably the best option. But the fact is, it's still killing. We all agree racism is wrong. And when we see it, we know we're horrified by it. And it stirs us to action. And that is correct. But we don't have the same reaction to abortion because we don't see it. And therefore, we don't feel it. Even though most of us would say abortion is wrong and we would never have one, we're not stirred to action because we don't feel it. If God, for example, has put on your heart that you want to fight against poverty because poverty is terrible, please follow that call. Our parish tries to do its small part to help people who are in poverty. We donate over $10,000 every year. We really want to send people. We donate volunteer hours to help in any way, small way we can. But while we acknowledge that poverty is a terrible problem, we think according to the facts, and we still realize that abortion is the #1 cause of death in the world. And so we should try to act accordingly. We should try to vote for life. We should try to protest and make the truth known. The world tells us that there are many more important moral issues, but that's not the fact. Abortion is the most important moral issue, 2 reasons. Because right now it's killing the most people, and secondly, because without the right to life, no other right matters. Okay, there we go. So, you can let me know what you think. Well, I'll talk to all of you online. That's a lot of stuff. I would love to know what you think about any of this. You can please speak your mind, speak it respectfully, and I'm not going to get mad at you. Why? Because I'm working on my patience. Hearing our sins is actually very life-giving. God says to the prophet Ezekiel, "I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from their ways and live." I have a lot of reasons that I tell myself why I can be impatient, but they don't work. Every time I confess, no, this is wrong. Every time I try to be more patient, the people around me do better spiritually. Remember what Dana revealed last week, that her conversion was really precipitated by her mom's reconversion, Lorenza's conversion. And Lorenza did the 3 things we've talked about today. 1, she stepped up her parenting compared to other parents. When I asked Lorenza, do you love God more than your 2 daughters, Dana and Danielle? She said, of course. But because of that, she loves her 2 girls so much. She would die for her girls. Number 2, Lorenza has made stronger moral commitments. And number 3, she has started changing her moral worldview. She has listened to God's warnings.